Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Sorry, we're getting a little mic test here. Well, thank you all for being here on behalf of the National Association of Manufacturers. We are excited to be at Armstrong World and to kick off the Competing to Win Tour, our 10 years on the road. Real quick, you might be asking, why are you here? Well, every year, the NAM launches the Competing to Win Tour to renew the dignity of manufacturing work and to work to inspire lawmakers, policymakers about the future of the industry and what's at stake today. And why are we at Armstrong World? And why do we come to facilities like this? And why do we live stream from a venue like this? Because when our president and CEO, Jay Timmons, when our board chair, Kathy Wengel, when our leaders at OMA, Ryan Osberger, see you, they step up their game. They're inspired by you. They are taking your message to lawmakers and the public, and we want to know what you think. So after these remarks, after the program, email us at input@nam.org to let us know what you think. So when I conclude, you're going to see a quick video play, and then we are off to the NAM State of Manufacturing Address. We really appreciate you all being here. Thank you.
This is manufacturing.
Hey, I'm Brandon, and I'm an electrician. Every single day, I'm learning something new. We have 13 buildings. In one building, we're doing foam. Next building is aerospace things for airplanes. I've seen RCO grow since I've been here. New buildings equal new jobs because somebody has to run it, and they're always hiring. I really believe we're like the building blocks of America right now because we got to keep the show going. Because when manufacturing wins, we all win.
Learn how preserving tax reform can protect 6 million American jobs. This is manufacturing.
Hey, I'm Eric, a CNC supervisor.
Here at RCO, we supply the parts that go on vehicles. We supply the parts that go on rocket ships, that go on planes. We support all of the research and development. We supply all the prototyping. You can't bring something to market if you don't prototype it first. I think it's very important for America to lead the world in innovation and manufacturing because when manufacturing wins, we all win.
Learn how preserving tax reform can protect 6 million American jobs. This is manufacturing.
Hey, I'm Jackie, electrical department leader. Manufacturing means a lot to Michigan. It means more jobs, it means economic growth and stability for people's families. While my children were growing up, I always had to work 2 jobs. But getting into manufacturing, I don't have to do that anymore. It's important for America to manufacture products because that's more jobs. When manufacturing wins, we all win.
Learn how preserving tax reform can protect 6 million American jobs.
Good morning. It's a privilege to welcome you all to Armstrong World Industries and to the 2025 National Association of Manufacturers State of Manufacturing Address. We have representatives here today from the offices of Senator Moreno, Representative Balderson, who has toured our facility in Johnstown previously, Governor DeWine, Ohio State, Columbus State, and the city of Hilliard. And most importantly, we have with us the men and women who proudly work every day in this plant at Hilliard. So welcome. My name is Austin So. I'm the General Counsel, Head of Government Relations, and the Chief Sustainability Officer of Armstrong World Industries. Whether you're here with us in person, joining us from across the country via live stream, or tuning in from manufacturing facilities, boardrooms, congressional offices, or even the White House, thank you for being part of this important conversation about the future of our industry and our country. I'm honored to represent Armstrong World Industries and to do so on behalf of our CEO, Vic Grizzle, a proud member of the NAM Board of Directors. Vic and our entire team at Armstrong are committed to strengthening manufacturing in the United States, investing in innovation, and ensuring that our industry continues to survive. I want to talk about Armstrong for a minute. Armstrong is a very historic American company. We're headquartered in Pennsylvania, founded in Pennsylvania 160 years ago and still headquartered there. We proudly manufacture in America and sell in America. We began as cork manufacturers and developed expertise in acoustics and eventually developed acoustical ceilings, becoming a leader in ceilings, walls, and exteriors. If you've ever been in a noisy environment like in a bar or a restaurant where you can't have a conversation, that's because they don't have the right acoustical treatment. So you think about the acoustics in this room, how wonderful our products are. Among the products that we make are the beautiful architectural ceilings that you see at airports, restaurants, hotels that are made of felt, wood, or steel. As it happens, we make a type of beautiful wood product in Newark, Ohio, and we make steel ceilings in Johnston, Ohio. And in fact, we have Wes, our plant manager here from Johnstown, who's joined us today. Our bread and butter is the humble ceiling tile like the ones that you see above your heads. And you see them often in offices, schools, and hospitals. So I want to talk about Ohio for a minute and our presence in Ohio. All told, we have 400 employees in Ohio across 4 locations. We've made $38 million in capital investments in Ohio from 2020 to 2023. And we are deeply involved in our communities. We donate tens of thousands of dollars every year to various organizations in Ohio, and we donate enough food to feed 900 families every year. And most importantly, we create jobs here in Ohio. As manufacturers, we know that what we build doesn't just shape our economy, it shapes the places where people work, learn, heal, and live. That's why we believe in manufacturing's role in strengthening communities, creating opportunities, and driving solutions for a better future. And common sense regulation is critical to American manufacturers to continue to innovate, to compete against foreign manufacturers, and to improve the lives of American citizens. So let me give you a real-life example of how this plays out in the real world. As I've said, we're a 160-year-old company, but we're very cutting edge. We've developed a revolutionary new product that will have a profound impact on American businesses and American manufacturing. It's a product that the men and women here know very well called Templock, T-E-M-P-L-O-K. It's an energy-saving ceiling that we just launched. It's a ceiling tile integrated with phase-changing material, or PCM. What is phase-changing material? Just think ice, right? It goes from solid to liquid to gas. It changes phase. So we've integrated, essentially, a ceiling tile with a cooler pack. But this cooler pack melts and freezes at 72 degrees instead of 32, thereby modulating the internal temperature variance in a given room. We've proven out that it saves up to 15% of HVAC-related electricity costs. So let me give you just a sense of the size of the impact. And this is very rough, back-of-the-envelope math done by a lawyer. So I'll caveat that up front. If you replaced all of the ceiling tiles in the United States with Templock, the savings of electricity is equivalent to the power needed for hundreds of thousands of homes, if not 1 million homes. So just think about the size of that impact from the humble ceiling tile, right? And so what does that mean? It means we protect the national grid, right? Especially as data centers come online and draw upon the electricity and stress out the national grid. It means we save money for our American businesses to be more competitive against China and foreign manufacturers, right? And for those who care about sustainability and decarbonization, this is a good way to make progress towards that goal. And most importantly, it means jobs. We developed Templock in North Carolina. We began the manufacturing process in Georgia and Pennsylvania, and we finished Templock right here at Hilliard. And we expect to develop or create more jobs right here in Hilliard and across the country because of our technology. In order to continue to innovate, as we have, and this is a very expensive product that required a lot of capital by Armstrong, but in order to continue to innovate, we need common sense regulations. We need tax incentives for our customers to be incentivized to mass adopt this revolutionary product. We need R&D expensing, and we need immediate expensing of capital investments, for example, so that we can continue to innovate to make lives better. And that's why we are very proud to host today's event, the NAM Competing to Win, which starts today for 2025 and goes all year. And the NAM State of Manufacturing Address sets the stage for the policy and industry landscape ahead and brings together manufacturers, business leaders, and policymakers who are shaping the next chapter of American growth. Now, to continue that conversation, we have with us a leader who has spent his career championing manufacturing's role in Ohio's economy and workforce. Ryan Augsburger is the president of the Ohio Manufacturers Association, an organization dedicated to ensuring that manufacturers here in Ohio have the policies they need to succeed. Ryan has been a leading voice for policies that drive innovation, job creation, and long-term competitiveness. So with that, please join me in welcoming Ryan Augsburger. Welcome.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you, Austin, and thanks to Armstrong World Industries for hosting us today. It's an honor to be here with so many industry and business leaders, both in the room and those of you joining us across the country. We're here today because manufacturing is the backbone of the American economy. That's true in Ohio, but it's not just a belief, it's reality. Manufacturing employs nearly 700,000 Ohioans. That's accounting for 17% of Ohio's total gross domestic product, contributing $133 billion annually to the national economy. It's our largest industry, our greatest economic driver, and the foundation of opportunity in every corner of the Buckeye State. That's why it happens here in Ohio matters to the entire world. For decades, Ohio manufacturers have been at the forefront of innovation and economic growth. Our factories, our supply chains, and our workforce don't just power Ohio's economy, they power America's competitiveness. For decades and today, our industry is growing, investing, and leading again. Companies are expanding their operations, driving new innovation, and rebuilding the supply chains that keep our country secure and strong. We're seeing record commitments from businesses that believe in the potential of Ohio manufacturing, from semiconductor fabs to defense manufacturing to Industry 4.0 driven production. Why? Because Ohio has set a roadmap for Washington and the nation on how to strengthen manufacturing in the United States. Manufacturers have thrived because our leaders have taken decisive actions to keep our industry competitive, whether through pro-growth tax policies, streamlined regulatory frameworks, or workforce initiatives that ensure our companies have the talent they need to expand. So as leaders in Washington work to unleash the full power of American manufacturing, they should be looking to Ohio, because here we've proven what's possible when government works with organizations like the Ohio Manufacturers Association, like businesses like Armstrong, to create an environment where manufacturers can invest, build, and hire. But this moment is also a defining one. Manufacturers across Ohio and the nation are facing critical challenges, from tax uncertainty, project delays, and workforce shortages to supply chain vulnerabilities and price pressures that threaten our ability to grow. And that's why the National Association of Manufacturers is here today, because these issues cannot wait. The Ohio Manufacturers Association is proud of our partnership with the NAM. For more than a century, the NAM has advocated for policies in Washington that drive our industry forward to ensure that our leaders in government understand what's at stake. And now I'd like to introduce a leader who understands this mission firsthand. Kathy Wengel serves as the NAM's board chair. She is Executive Vice President, Chief Technical Operations, and Chief Risk Officer for Johnson & Johnson. She has spent her career innovating, pioneering positive change, and ensuring that manufacturing continues to be a force for American progress, prosperity, and strength. Will you please join me in welcoming Kathy Wengel?
Thanks, Ryan. Great. Well, thank you so much, Ryan. Thank you, of course, to our hosts and friends here at Armstrong World Industries, and for the very warm welcome here in cold Ohio. I'll tell you, it's just as cold in New Jersey and in Washington and all other places right now. But there's no doubt this is the heartland of America, and Ohio is a manufacturing powerhouse. And so everyone that is here in person can see and feel that, but across the country, the manufacturers, the partners, the policymakers, and most importantly, recognizing the 13 million men and women who make things today in America. And we're looking for that number to keep growing. So it's very fitting. We are all here today at a wonderful manufacturing facility, because manufacturing is what drives our country forward. It is the foundation of our economy. It's the bedrock of communities like this, and without a doubt, it's a key to America's future. Right now, that future is in our hands to shape. I've spent my career at Johnson & Johnson helping build the supply chains, the innovations, and the teams that deliver life-saving products to people all across the world. And at the heart of that is manufacturing. And that's why I joined the NAM board, and it's why I'm honored to serve as chair. I know that when manufacturers succeed, America succeeds. And so make no mistake, manufacturers are leading. And at a time when Washington is moving at lightning speed, when every industry is competing for attention, we, the manufacturers of America, have the respect, we have the credibility, and we have the power to lead. Now, just a few weeks ago, the NAM stood shoulder to shoulder with congressional leaders to deliver a clear and urgent message on tax reform. We are driving the agenda also on regulatory certainty, on energy dominance, on permitting reform, healthcare, and workforce development. And we are the voice that everyone turns to on issues like trade, on digital transformation, and AI, because as manufacturers in America, we not only make for America, but we make for the rest of the world. And we are the heart also of America's national security. We produce advanced technologies, critical materials, infrastructure that keep our allies safe and keep America strong. So as you'll hear today, the NAM is not waiting for Washington to act. We are making sure Washington acts for you, for manufacturers. That's the power of the National Association of Manufacturers. That is why more manufacturers than ever are joining our cause. And that is why when policymakers want to know what manufacturers need to compete, they turn to the NAM first. And there is no one better to tell that story, no one better to deliver this year's NAM State of Manufacturing Address than our President and CEO, Jay Timmons. Jay is relentless in ensuring that manufacturers' voices are heard in the White House, in Congress, in every corner of this country. And as someone who grew up just miles from here, he knows firsthand the impact of manufacturing on families and communities like this one. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the President and CEO of the National Association of Manufacturers, Jay Timmons.
Well, good morning, everybody. It's great to be here in balmy, tropical Ohio. I told Ryan, could you just give us maybe 5 degrees more? We would be happy with that. Kathy, thank you so much for your outstanding leadership for manufacturers, not only here in the United States, but also right here in Ohio. Thank you for joining us here. And Ryan, I have to tell you, OMA sets the highest bar for manufacturing advocacy, and we sure do appreciate your leadership. Austin, thank you for hosting us. And thank you also for Armstrong always answering the call to help advance policies that make the U.S. more competitive. Now, as Kathy referenced, it's good to be home. I was born and raised in Chillicothe and Circleville, just down the road, short drive from here. And let me tell you, growing up here in Ohio, it teaches you something about manufacturing. The manufacturing that happens right here in Ohio, quite frankly, is the core of this country. It's in the steel that built our bridges, the cars that roll off our assembly lines, the glass, the paper that my grandfather made at the Mead paper mill, the chemicals, the semiconductors, the textiles, the machinery that powers the American economy. Today, Ohio continues to lead the way. And as a Buckeye native, I'm not surprised about that. But if you think about how Ohio is leading, it's from the advanced manufacturing projects that are taking shape in Jeffersonville by Honda and LG Energy Solution, and Anduril in Pickaway County, to the cutting-edge semiconductor fabs from Intel breaking ground in New Albany, to other facilities or headquarters coming online for Amgen, Sherwin-Williams, and many more, to the hardworking men and women right here at Armstrong World Industries who show up every day to build the future. Give yourselves a hand, please. You are contributing to the greatness of America. I am so proud and honored to be here with you today. Look, manufacturing isn't just what we do, it's who we are. If you ever need a reminder of why that matters, just listen to the people who make things in America. Like the team right here in front of me. A few weeks ago, we were talking to manufacturers about their futures and the stakes of the year ahead. Brendan Bryant, he's an electrician at RCO Engineering in Michigan. He was part of one of those ads, or RCO was part of one of those ads. He said it best. When manufacturing wins, America wins. And that's why we're here today. That's why we can't afford to fail, not on taxes, not on regulations, not on energy, not on trade, not on workforce policy, not on any of those areas. Because when manufacturers win, we grow the economy. We create opportunities. We power America's future. Right now, we're at a defining moment. A new administration is in the White House. A new Congress has been seated. This government is going to define its success by whether it creates more jobs, whether it strengthens manufacturing, whether it unleashes growth. And look, that's the expectation that they have and that we all have. But for manufacturers, what happens next, that really matters. Because uncertainty is the enemy of investment. We all know that manufacturing is a capital-intensive industry. We make decisions months, years in advance. We don't plan for the next quarter. We plan for the next 3, 10, even 50 years. When we build a new facility, think of it this way, it's a generational investment. When we place orders for inputs, our suppliers expect forecasts not for days, but for months and years. A new production line, it's not something that we install overnight. It takes years of planning, years of investment and training to bring it online. That, my friends, that is why we need certainty. We need a clear, actionable, multi-step strategy from our government. One that says, we want you to invest here, we want you to hire here, and we want you to succeed here. Now, all of that starts with renewing the 2017 tax reforms and renewing them now. We all saw what happened when President Trump signed the 2017 tax cuts into law. It was rocket fuel for manufacturing in America. And it was a win for every American manufacturing worker, every worker. New manufacturing jobs, 2018, it was the best year for manufacturing job creation in the previous 21 years. Higher wages, enhanced benefits, record-breaking investments, all of that, those investments in new plants, new technologies. But today, key provisions of those reforms, they've expired, and others are going to lapse later this year. The rocket is about ready to run out of fuel. Every day Congress delays because of process and politics, manufacturers face uncertainty. They face delayed investment. They face fewer jobs. So here's what we've got to do. In today's economy, manufacturers need policies, tax policies, that support investment, innovation, and jobs. Now that means maintaining the 21% corporate rate, or perhaps even lower. It means maintaining the 20% pass-through deduction and reduced individual rates. And look, we also need tax incentives that have expired that help businesses expand to expand, and those tax policies are things like immediate R&D expensing. That'll help drive innovation. Enhanced interest deductions, so manufacturers can finance growth, as well as full expensing and new equipment and machinery. As tax reform discussions continue, they need to move fast. Congress isn't known for moving fast, but this is a message that we're sending, and we encourage all of you to send it as well. Move fast now and focus on making the United States the best place to manufacture. That means giving businesses long-term certainty so that we can grow, we can invest, we can plan. because the stakes are clear. Failing to renew the 2017 tax reforms, and this is according to a study that the NAM and EY released recently, it's going to cost 6 million jobs. 6 million jobs. And more than 1.1 million of those are manufacturing jobs. We'd also suffer over a $1 trillion hit to our economy. And look, those numbers don't even include price pressures from tariffs. Now, here in Ohio, the effects would be devastating. I know that Ryan knows this. 208,000 jobs lost. $18.9 billion in wages that are just wiped out. And the fact is this, that's not just economic data. That's the difference between a worker getting a raise or losing a job. That's the difference between a family affording a home, like where I was raised in North Fork Village in Chillicothe, or a school getting new resources, a school like my high school, Logan Elm High School, or whether they'll face budget cuts. Between a communities all over this state, all over this country, thriving, or watching entire blocks emptied and in disrepair. So for manufacturers like Armstrong World Industries, tax reform, as you heard from Austin, has enabled investment in energy-efficient innovations like their Templok ceiling panels. That helps businesses cut energy costs, and it reduces strain on the grid. Without tax policies that reduce the cost of doing business, companies like Armstrong, well, they just can't create jobs here in Ohio. And for small and medium-sized manufacturers in particular, the stakes are extremely high. Extremely high. Courtney Silver, she runs Ketchy. It's a precision machining company in North Carolina. Tax reform meant that she could invest in new equipment. She could expand her opportunities and give her workers a raise. A family-owned business, Husco, it's a hydraulic and electromechanical control system manufacturer in Waukesha, Wisconsin. They saw tax reform spur reinvestment in innovation, strengthen operations, and bolster its workforce. But you know, now with R&D incentives reduced, the cost of designing customized proprietary products, it's rising. It's making it harder to compete with global competitors and grow here at home. And those tax provisions, as they expire, it's not just a business problem. It's a family problem. It's a community problem. It's an American problem. That's why we were proud that Speaker Mike Johnson, Majority Leader Steve Scalise, Ways and Means Chair Jason Smith, and Senate Finance Committee Chair Mike Crapo, they stood shoulder to shoulder with the NAM last month in the United States Capitol to say very clearly and distinctly, the time to act is now. But look, taxes aren't the only fight ahead. We also have to restore regulatory certainty. Right now, manufacturers are spending $350 billion each and every year just to comply with regulations. $350 billion every year. That's money that could be spent on expanding factories and production lines, hiring new workers, or raising wages. And what manufacturers need is regulatory clarity and consistency. In the first Trump administration, we worked with the administration, the NAM did, to help streamline regulations. And this administration has already hit the brakes on costly, burdensome rules. But we need to move faster to deliver on our industry's potential. And you know, that's especially true when it comes to America's energy dominance and permitting reform. I think about when we flip a switch or fire up a plant or fuel a truck. Most Americans don't think about where that power comes from. We just expect it to be there. And you know what? That's because manufacturers, who are the energy producers, they make it happen every single day. We build, we innovate, and we power the greatest economy that the world has ever seen. Manufacturing doesn't just use energy. We build the equipment that produces it, and we create the technologies that make it cleaner and more efficient and more reliable and more affordable. I think it's pretty safe to say, America should be the undisputed leader in energy production and innovation. But we're not going to reach that full potential without permitting reform. For years, manufacturers have been calling attention to America's broken permitting process, from pipelines to renewable energy, from critical mineral mines to hydroelectric and nuclear power plants, from interstate transmission lines to semiconductor and battery manufacturing fabs. We're seeing opportunities for energy dominance fade in the face of a permitting process that takes 80% longer than other major developed nations. Think about that, 80% longer. Americans should never be content taking 10 or 15 years to approve projects that other countries approve in 1/5 of the time. So what are we waiting for? Cutting red tape, requiring federal agencies to make faster decisions, and reducing baseless litigation, that is what will unleash America's energy future. We're already working with the administration and Congress, and we're confident that now's the time to get it done. And in fact, as you saw, we already made progress when President Trump lifted the liquefied natural gas LNG export ban. But it's really just the beginning. Now, you can have all the best policies in the world, but none of it matters without the people who make it all happen. Over the last year, we've averaged about 500,000 open manufacturing jobs in America. Good paying, life-changing careers. And by 2033, get this, we face a shortfall of 1.9 million manufacturing workers. So that's why we need a real workforce strategy, one that ensures we have the talent to grow and to compete and to lead. Look, we know what works: apprenticeships, hands-on training, private-public partnerships, and making sure that people can see the reality of manufacturing careers that make a difference for your family, for your community, and for our country with dignity, ingenuity, and pride. That's how we built the greatest manufacturing workforce in the world, and how we'll build the next generation of creators. Look, we've seen it firsthand. We've seen it from people like Joseph Fields. He's a U.S. Navy vet who found a role at MGX Equipment Services in Houston, Texas. He found that through a career fair that was sponsored by Heroes Make America. Now, for those of you who don't know about it, Heroes Make America is an initiative of the Manufacturing Institute, the NAM's workforce development and education affiliate, to support military to manufacturing opportunities. Today, Joseph works in human resources, and he's encouraging other veterans to try out our programs and find their next career in our industry. We've seen it from people like Bertha Ostelgien, who had come to work in production at HEB after being a stay-at-home mom. She'd always wanted to go back to school. So she took the plunge by enrolling in the FAME apprenticeship program, and that is a manufacturing training program that was founded by Toyota, but today is operated by the Manufacturing Institute. She became the first woman from HEB to complete the program, and she did so at the top of her class. Right here in Ohio, you've got the best-in-class workforce champion, the Ohio Manufacturers Association. They work to connect businesses with skilled talent, ensuring manufacturers across the Buckeye State can grow and thrive. Ryan and his team's dedication is helping strengthen Ohio's manufacturing workforce for the future. But you know what? There's a challenge that we're not talking enough about. Manufacturers are struggling to fill critical jobs. Yet our broken immigration system creates unnecessary barriers to hiring. We've got to modernize our immigration policies to meet the demands of a nation that wants to make more right here in the United States. Because uncertainty in workforce planning, it's just as damaging. It's just as damaging as uncertainty in tax, regulatory, energy, or permitting policy. When manufacturers can find and retain the right talent, they can invest more, they can produce more, and they can compete more effectively. But a strong manufacturing workforce, it also has to be matched with strong trade policies. Building things here only works if we can sell them to the 95% of customers who are outside of the borders of the United States, around the world. Now look, President Trump has made it clear he intends to aggressively use the tariff tool that is in his toolbox. And at the same time, it's important to recognize the reality that manufacturers in the United States have made long-term investments based on the rules that exist today. Just look at the USMCA free trade agreement. That was one of President Trump's signature achievements in his first administration. It prioritized manufacturers in the United States, it secured supply chains, it strengthened our industry. And you know what? It greatly reduced our reliance on China. Today, in fact, today, 1/3 of critical US manufacturing inputs now comes from Canada or Mexico rather than China. That's a major shift in the right direction. We need to build on that progress. And if President Trump continues to use tariffs, we need a common sense policy for manufacturers. A policy that provides manufacturers with the certainty to plan and to invest. A plan that respects the investments that we've made under the rules that we were given. And a policy that starts low, ramps up over time, and as a part of a comprehensive strategy, gives manufacturers a clear runway to adjust, invest, and expand domestic production and create more jobs right here in the United States. And in addition, critical minerals and other inputs that simply can't be sourced in the United States, they need to remain tariff-free. So supply chains are not disrupted and manufacturers are not penalized for global dependencies that exist today. We need more trade agreements that expand market access, that protect intellectual property, that ensure fair competition so that manufacturers in the United States, they can continue to compete on a level playing field. Look, the bottom line is this. Common sense, comprehensive manufacturing strategy. It needs to align our trade policy with tax, regulatory, energy, and workforce initiatives so that manufacturers can grow and plan and succeed. To do otherwise, it creates a piecemeal approach that generates that uncertainty that we've been talking about, and uncertainty kills investment. If we want to make more in America, manufacturers excel when we're given the runway to plan and to build. And when manufacturers have the right policies in place, they don't just make products, they make progress. Manufacturers in the United States, we're building the future, not just in what we make, but in how we make it, and on the impact that we have on the world. In healthcare, we're pioneering life-saving treatments, medicines, and breakthrough therapies that are extending and improving lives. In food and agriculture, we're developing sustainable ways to nourish the world, from precision farming that reduces waste and conserves water to advanced food production that enhances nutrition and safety. In energy, we're making America stronger and more self-reliant, leading innovations in next-generation technologies to keep energy affordable, abundant, and cleaner for the future. In technology, we're shaping the circular economy, creating smarter, more sustainable materials, and making it easier every day for consumers to reduce waste, recycle, and do their part for the environment. And as we revolutionize transportation, we're making the modes of travel more efficient and more connected. That ensures that America leads in mobility and logistics and infrastructure. At the NAM, we know that change isn't some far-off vision of the future. It's already here. And manufacturers have always been at the forefront of innovation. Take artificial intelligence, for example. It's not new to manufacturing. For years, manufacturers have been developing and deploying AI-driven technologies, things like machine learning, digital twins, predictive maintenance, robotics, and more to make shop floors smarter and supply chains stronger and workplaces safer. But you know, the conversation around AI is shifting. Helping the public and policymakers understand what the AI manufacturing future means, that's going to define how we harness its full potential. Because look, the world isn't slowing down, so neither can we. And that's why the NAM is on the ground with manufacturers every single day, anticipating challenges, seizing opportunities, making sure our industry speaks with one powerful voice. So let me conclude where I began. If you want to know the state of manufacturing in America, well, I'll tell you. Manufacturing in the United States is moving forward. Like a press at full speed, like a production line firing on all cylinders, like the workers who show up before dawn and leave long after the job is done. Manufacturing in the United States is driving us forward. We have the momentum, and we have a government that is moving fast, faster than we've seen in years, to make American industry stronger, to make it more competitive, to make it more dominant. But here's the thing about momentum. You don't coast forward, you push. Here in Ohio, in a place defined by American invention, defined by industry and grit, we know that success doesn't just happen, it is built. This is the state that gave us Wilbur and Orville Wright. They didn't just dream of human flight. They built the machine to make it possible with their own hands. It's the state that produced John Glenn, who climbed into a capsule built by American manufacturers and became the first American to orbit the Earth. And of course, it's the home of Thomas Edison. Edison's inventions lit up the world because he never accepted failure as an ending or good enough as an answer. Just like them, manufacturers, we don't wait for permission to make history. We don't need an invitation to change the world. We go out and we make it happen. And that's exactly what we're going to do again, committed to the values of free enterprise, competitiveness, individual liberty, and equal opportunity. To compete, to thrive, and to win. To make America great for manufacturing again. Because when manufacturing succeeds here at home, there is no stopping America. Thank you all very much for joining us today. I'm going to have a little stage reshuffle here.
Live production as we move forward. Well, hi, everyone. I'm Erin Streeter. I'm the Executive Vice President at the NAM, and I'm really excited to be with all of you today. I have the privilege of bringing these powerhouse manufacturing leaders up here and having a quick conversation with them and pulling the string a little bit on some of the things that Jay just mentioned in his State of Manufacturing speech. So, Jay, you did just very pointedly lay out the stakes from the manufacturing industry for 2025 and beyond. Why is this such a defining moment, and why should manufacturers and policymakers be paying attention at this moment?
Well, look, I think we just have to look around the world, right? We have to look around the world and realize that it's not standing still. There are forces at play that have upended our view of how the world should be evolving, how democracies are going to sustain themselves. And the United States has always been kind of this bright light. Ronald Reagan called it the shining city on the hill. This bright light for the values that we all hold dear. And when we're strong economically, we have the ability to kind of export those values. And my hope is that we're going to be able to continue to do that. But on a more fundamental level, it really matters to continuing to strengthen our own communities and our own economy here at home, as I mentioned in the address. But we can only do that with the right policy. We have policies we have in place right now a president who is very focused on strengthening manufacturing in America. And we need to take advantage of that fact because Congress right now is also aligned in that direction. And I think if we don't put points on the board now, we may never have this opportunity to do it again.
Kathy, do you want to add anything to that?
I just add that this is the moment, as Jay says. I mean, this is the moment where with those policies, we get them in place. That sets a framework and certainty that can drive growth for more than a decade, as we saw last time when tax reform was enacted. It really is a fuel for growth, and we all need to act now to make that happen.
Ryan, here in Ohio, and actually across the country, we're seeing major manufacturing growth, but also real challenges. Some of the issues Jay outlined, tax, regulation, workforce, trade. What do they mean for manufacturers and workers here on the ground in Ohio?
You know, there's been a number of high-profile projects in Ohio that we referenced earlier, the semiconductor fabs and the battery projects, and those are great. Those are great, and they're going to continue. But there's every day more and more projects, kind of the slow and steady manufacturer around the corner that maybe isn't always on the front page of the Dispatch or the Ohio newspaper that you're reading, and it's reinvesting. And so that uncertainty can deprive that decision-making of happening. We've got a great opportunity right now in a change of administration and the lineup controlling our U.S. Congress. The opportunities now to seize on the signals that government can send, that government's going to adopt policies that allow for a corporation's leaders to authorize those kinds of investments. Jay said it earlier, it takes years in frequent cases for a plant such as this to go to their boardroom and get investment support for an expansion. And today's global economy is more competitive than ever before. If we aren't investing in the best technology that allows that product to be innovated and manufactured as efficiently as anywhere else on earth, then we jeopardize that investment and maintaining that business right here in Ohio. We want to maintain and seize on that. That's good for Ohio jobs. It's good for Ohio's economy. We have a workforce that's second to none. We got to take advantage of that with these kind of regulatory decisions, which are potentially uncertain right now in taxes. So there's a great opportunity.
That's great. Thank you, Ryan. Austin, you are here on the ground. Armstrong is a company that has been making investments in America for decades. What's the impact on your company, for you?
Sure. Just a correction. We've been investing for 160 years in America, not just decades. Yeah, it's a very American company with a lot of history here. We've talked about, we have 400 employees here, and we've invested about $40 million in just the last few years in capital investments. And we talked about TempLock and the revolutionary product that it is on the national grid. Cost savings for American businesses to be more competitive with China and foreign manufacturers, job growth right here in Ohio and elsewhere in the United States. Well, for that, we need incentives, R&D expensing, right? All of the innovation comes from the R&D that we've done for years and years to come up with this revolutionary product. We need full expensing and immediate expensing of capital investments because it takes a lot of capital here in Ohio and in Georgia and other states to produce TempLock. And we need incentives for our customers to mass adopt this revolutionary product so we can protect the national grid and do all the great things that TempLock promises to be.
That's great. Thank you for that. We've been talking about tax reform. You just mentioned it. Jay and Kathy, you both have made pretty clear how high the stakes are. What happens if we don't get it done? And what can folks in this room do to be helpful?
I'd start with some of the facts that Jay mentioned in his address. The recent study done by EY shows there are 6 million jobs at risk across the United States if that tax reform doesn't happen and certain provisions get returned or restored or renewed. Those provisions that Austin mentioned, those are the ones that impact not only big companies, and by the way, I'll run a pitch, we're a 140-year-old American manufacturer, so together, just two of us, 300 years of investing in America. But that's because you need to have a strategy. You need a business strategy, and in that you need some certainty to know what is the framework you're working in. So the renewal of these tax provisions is very important, and whether you're a big company or whether you're a small company, particularly for small and medium manufacturers where there may be fewer options, right? Or those choices are very individual and very particular to that family company or that regional company. It is so important. As Johnson & Johnson, we spend $25 billion a year with 23,000 suppliers here in the United States. And every one of those suppliers wants that certainty. And so that it becomes very real. It's not only a tax provision in the tax code, it's a decision about hiring a new person. It's a decision about how much your merit increase may be every day, and it's a decision about buying a new line for new technology that can impact your company for generations to come. So it's very real.
And what people can do, Aaron, is contact their member of Congress, the United States Senator, and the message is not just get tax reform done. The message is get tax reform done now. Because again, the uncertainty, I mean, if we wait, I hate to get into process, but if we follow the typical way that Congress moves, which is about the pace of a sea slug, you're going to get to late December and they're going to still be talking about this issue. Well, that's just delayed for an entire year. Investment decisions by companies all over this country. We don't want that delay. So it not only needs to get done, it needs to get done now. And that's the message we need everyone to hear. And by the way, members of Congress in the majority party, Republican right now, can send that message to the Speaker. So members of Congress from here in this area or members of the Senate can send the message to the majority leader. Look, I'm getting pressure from back home. This needs to get done now because folks are watching. They're watching whether we're actually doing what we said we were going to do. So the message is get it done now.
Ryan, we're about to head over to the State House and carry the same message. What are you hearing from your members on the ground here in Ohio? What does this tax uncertainty mean for them?
Yeah, so you can't deploy capital without favorable tax policies that send the signal that it's a good time to invest in to make yourself more competitive, right? We want tax policies that drive innovation. Innovation is happening in manufacturing every day, not just in the products, the humble ceiling tile, Austin, but also in the process by which that product is made. And so that's the critical lifeblood of manufacturing in Ohio and in the United States is we've got to have policies that allow our manufacturers, that send the signal that you can invest and the government will support that investment through a reasonable competitive tax structure. And so that's what we're hearing is that needs to be renewed. Those are going to go away if they're not renewed. That's why we're talking about this today and why it's important. Also, certain regulatory decision making that can have a chilling effect. Manufacturers are terrific at complying with regulations. And when you have uncertainty in how those regulations are going to be authorized or complied with, and that can mean delays. And delays, again, bad for decision making and corporate reinvestment. I want to pick up something that Kathy mentioned earlier that, while we have manufacturers of all different sizes, super large, medium, and small, some of the larger companies may be able to absorb some of that uncertainty, the costs that come along with that, easier than the smaller mom and pops. And so that's of concern too, because Ohio is a supply chain state. We make everything that goes into transportation equipment, cars, trucks, airplanes, appliances, great supply chain. Everything is made here. And so it's not just about that manufacturer in Ohio, it's also about that manufacturer's business to business customer. And every single manufacturer in Ohio is doing business with manufacturing firms around the world. We're very much in a competitive global environment.
With those larger manufacturers, pardon me.
All choked up, Jay, about manufacturing.
You want this water?
Yeah. What those larger manufacturers cannot absorb is they cannot absorb a breakdown in the supply chain.
Right.
And those small manufacturers are a critical part of the supply chain. So we saw this during COVID. I mean, think about that. We couldn't get the supply chain moving. It froze up. And that's what happens if we don't have these decisions made now.
All right, let's talk workforce, another key pillar to manufacturing success. Austin, can you share with us a little bit about what you all are facing when it comes to hiring and retaining top talent?
Yeah, Dave Muth, who runs this plant here, he and I were talking this morning about how difficult it is to fill the positions that he has open, right? So one of the ways that he's tried to bridge the gap is, for example, an apprenticeship program with Columbus State. I think we might have some representatives from Columbus State here today. There he is. And case in point, we have a young woman who's actually in college at Columbus State, and she's working with us, 23 hours a week? Yeah, and then once she's done, she'll have a job here at Hilliard, right? So these kinds of programs are very important to continue to fill these jobs with Ohioans. And another program that in addition, we need smart immigration reforms, right? And Dave is, I'm sure Wes is doing the same thing from Johnstown. He's a plant manager in Johnstown. We're going out to high schools to get them early, right? Because not everyone is suited for college. It's not the best option for everybody. You're saddled with these huge debts coming out of college, and sometimes the jobs that are available to you just doesn't make any economic sense. So Dave and Wes are trying to recruit from high schools, right, to try to develop the workforce that are interested in the trades. And of course, as I said, smart immigration reform is important to keep the pipeline of workers.
Kathy, I'd love for you to touch on this as well, because I know you've seen firsthand how manufacturing can transform people's lives and their careers.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I've spent 3.5 decades in manufacturing, in healthcare, and the first thing I'd say is, you know, in manufacturing, it's not only a job, it's a career with a purpose. You're making things that matter. You're making things that can change the energy profile of a building, that can allow someone to invest and do more of what they manufacture. In healthcare, we're making things that impact and save people's lives every day. And that means every single person makes a difference. And the backgrounds of people that have careers in manufacturing that I've seen over the last 35 years has evolved tremendously. It's evolved from also technology that was largely electromechanical and maybe some batch process, to now a highly tech-enabled industry. And every manufacturing type is different, but I know 3D printing is something that's very active here. Jay mentioned AI, so folks that not only love to put things together or assemble them, which is what I love to do from the time I was about 2 years old, but for those of who love to code, who love technology, this is not the manufacturing of 2 or 3 generations ago. This is high tech, high enablement, and the ability to draw folks into manufacturing careers from different backgrounds is so important. Whether it's veterans and the program with the MI, Veterans Make America, and so many skills that are transferable into manufacturing, whether it's FAME, the apprenticeship program, right, and the doors that opens, or whether it's Women Make America and really working to expand that pool, highly qualified women in manufacturing as well. As Jay said, we risk having almost 2 million jobs open in the next 8 years in manufacturing without people to fill them. And so all of us need to work together to tell that story of how being a creator, being a manufacturer is really an exciting career.
You can see why she makes such a good, effective board chair for the NAM. That passion really comes through. Thank you, Kathy.
And it's fun, too,
It
by
is
the way.
fun.
I mean,
We're fun all the time. For each of you, as we kind of close out, what would be your one message for folks in the room and watching today? Jay, we'll start with you.
You can make a difference. And I'm going to ask a question. I don't expect to see a lot of hands, but how many in here have actually reached out personally to a member of Congress, the United States Senate, on any policy at any time in your lifetimes?
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Good.
We need to make every single hand in this room go up, because this is the critical time. This is a critical time for policymakers to hear from you that you want them to do their jobs and you want them to get tax reform done now. That is step one in a comprehensive, common sense, comprehensive manufacturing strategy to grow more manufacturing jobs in this country.
I echo that. This is the moment. This will set the stage for the next decade of growth for the company you're part of and for your suppliers and for others. So make that voice heard. Join us.
Manufacturers like Armstrong, like Johnson & Johnson are doing amazing things in Ohio and in the United States. This economy, manufacturing economy, is thriving, but we can't take it for granted. We've got to engage federal government officials today, as we're talking about, as some of these issues are federal, but there are also a multitude of state issues that my organization works on day in and day out. So it is important to stay informed and make sure your voice and your company's voice is at the table.
Yeah, I will echo these comments and maybe address my colleagues here in Hilliard. Something very specific to Armstrong. So we're 160 years old, as we all know by now, because I've said it a few times. We haven't had a government relations function until August. And I started this function to try to secure a tax credit for temp lock under the IRA. And what we've realized, and what I've said to Vic, our CEO, is we need a permanent government relations function because we don't know what the next ask is going to be and when we're going to need it. So case in point, a couple of weeks after Vic and I had this conversation, one of our facilities, and I'm not going to get into details because I don't want to upset anyone who's watching live stream, but one of our facilities was curtailed in terms of their natural gas supply. And we know how much natural gas we need to dry out these board mills, right? And so at this facility, we were losing up to $1 million of revenue potentially per day that we were shut down. And we were getting shut down repeatedly because of the contract that we had. More importantly, leading to the holiday season, right before Christmas, our 400 men and women at this location were not making their hourly wages. This was a really tough situation to be in. Fortunately for us, by the end of that year, in December last year, we had already started developing relationships with key legislators representing districts where we had a presence. So we rained down a lot of pain on this utility to work with us instead of giving us the Heisman. And we got our men and women back to work within just a matter of days. So that goes to the point that all of the panelists are raising. Please get involved. This is important for all of us.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Austin. So important. And as we close out, I just want to remind Jay's speech did lay out a roadmap. And as you all just reiterated, it's on all of us to kind of make it happen. It's important. We want to make sure that all of you know the NAM is on this, and we're going to keep fighting. We do every day with the right leaders, the right strategies, and the right vision for the future. To everyone watching, thank you for all that you do to help make manufacturing strong in this country every single day. We're honored to tell your story and do our part to shape a better future for everyone who makes things in America. I also want to thank these outstanding leaders who are on stage. You can see how lucky our industry is to have the assets of such powerhouse leaders leading the industry today. So with that, I want to thank you all, and I want to turn it over to Austin now.
Yeah, thank you to the NAM, Kathy, Jay, and of course, Ohio, Ryan. Thank you very much for coming. And thank you to all of you for joining us. And I've got a surprise. We're going off script. So David Muth, the plant manager here at Hilliard, has a gift for our panelists. A couple of gifts.
We'll be taking advantage of some of Kathy's pharmaceutical products after this.
Okay, so again, thank you everybody here for joining us. What a wonderful day. This is exciting. To have this here in the Hill represent with Armstrong. A couple things for the group that's going to do the tour. You'll see this, but for the other group here at Armstrong at the Hilliard plant, we use 3D printing to solve production problems. Critical production problems in terms of supply chain. We can't get a part. Can we 3D print it? Yeah, we sure can. Take 3 weeks on a boat, or we can do it in 3 hours, right? Or solutions on the production line, which you'll see today on the tour. But we want to give you a token of appreciation. This is a 3D printed ceiling tile. It's a tegular edge. It's going to represent the culture innovation and the capabilities that you'll see here at the Hilliard plant and all across Armstrong, quite frankly. So it's the official 2025 Hilliard plant. In addition, we understand there's a couple Ohio State fans on the panel.
OH.
I-O. Can't believe we did that. But we're going to give you a ceiling tile. We have 3
Can you get somebody to bring it up?
Yeah, we have it in the back behind the camera.
Oh, wow. Yes, you can see it from here.
We'll have it in 3 boxes. We'll build it here.
Oh, wow,
Let's,
Jay.
hey, why don't you hand that out? Let's get a picture with the panelists
Yeah.
holding that.
That's going to be in your office, I think, next time I see you in D.C., huh?
I think so.
I think so. Beautiful.
Maybe,
right.
maybe the chairwoman can hold it.
Sure. I would love to.
All right. Get a couple of pictures.
Let's do it again. OH.
Yeah,
All right.
Very nice.
I'm not letting you keep this.
I know.
Okay. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Austin. Thank you so much. Thank you. It's beautiful.